Okay, what daf is this? Is this, let's see, we have to daf high, so that's probably Youth Testament base. Yeah. Okay, so we're on Youth Testament base on the fourth line. Okay, Rav Chisda. So we number out just to backtrack what we're in the middle of. Is that okay? Fourth line, Youth Testament base. And the subject was talking about first we had a machlokes when a person is a Nazi became tamei. So of course he has to become tahor, and the first days fall off. He starts again. So in the tahor process, he has to have Hazar Shlishi Shvi, the third and seventh day of sprinkling with the Efer Chatas, and we came out that he does not take a regular case. He does take a haircut. That's the pasuk says he takes a haircut on the seventh day, and then the eighth day he brings the karbanos. And the other machlok is when does he start counting the new count? Does the new count start from the eighth day, like the pasuk on the pasuk, or it starts on the seventh day? Not the pasuk on the pasuk, the drasha, because I mean in Indian that was machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbi Yehuda. That was then there was a Mishnah in Krisos that the Gemara brought down yesterday. Just to go back to the Mishnah in Krisos. Spoke about where's that? Nazir shenitma tumas harbe. Any maybe other korban. That's the Mishnah. Short Mishnah. Nazir shenitma. Why is it not colorful? Nazir shenitma tumas harbe. Any maybe other korban. Even though he became tummy many times, he only brings one korban. And the Gemara said that it only goes according. Rav Chisda said it goes according to Yosef Rebbe Yehuda, says that he starts the new count on the seventh day, and he became tummy on the seventh day. And over there is a chiddush. The korbanos he didn't bring it, but on the other hand, he started the new count. So there might be a spur to say that since he's starting the new count, so now it's a new tumah. The new tumah should make him bring another korban. So that was a chiddush. But according to Rebbe, there's no chiddush because he doesn't start counting on the seventh day. He starts counting on the eighth day. So if he became tumah on the seventh day, then surely it's still didn't start the new count, and it's still didn't bring the korbanos. So surely it's going to be considered one tumah. That's one. And if it's going to be on the eighth day, then on the contrary, he starts the new count and also brings the korbanos. So there's no reason that it should be count for one korban. You'd have to bring a korban for each one. That was Chazara we had already. And now the Gemara starts on the fourth line and has a question. Rav Chisda, my duchke look my Rav Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. If Chisda said the only case he can find in the Mishnah increases makes sense only according to Rabbi Yehuda that he starts the count on the seventh day and the korbanos on the eighth day. So there's if he became tumah on the seventh day, you might think that he has to bring another korban for each tumah. Kamash money doesn't have to. But the Ma'aseh eight say even according to Rebbe, look, I think this word is extra. They take out this word. This word doesn't seem to fit. Go the nitma the leil shmini. The leil shmini. We talked about the seventh day and the eighth day. How about the eighth night? Means the eve of the eighth, between the seventh and the eighth. The Rebbe, and he could have said according to Rebbe. That means that he doesn't start counting until the eighth day. But as far as the korban, you're right. He didn't bring the korban yet at night, but it's really called the 8 days. The day of the korbanos already. Technically, you don't bring korbanos at night, but the Gemara looks at it like just technicality. But really, it was ready yotza l'shah sheru'uya l'korban. It is a time that he's really fitting the etzem. Inherently, the korban is on the 8th day. If there wouldn't be halacha that you can't bring a korban at night, so you could have brought it at night. You're right. Technically, he's not allowed to bring it at night, but it's called already that he's in the parsha of the korban already. He's right to bring a korban because it's the 8th day already. So, and that would have been a nice shot. That on one hand, the count didn't start. The count didn't start till the 8th day, but it's called royal korban because it's already the 8th night, the eve of the 8th. So that would have been a chiddush. The Gemara thought if it was the 8th, everything was on the 8th day. So the Gemara said he's royal korban already, and he's counting to start a new count. So for sure, it's a separate korban. You have to bring a korban for each tumah. It's called that he went out of the first tumah, and now he's starting a new one. So then he would bring two korbanos for two tumas. And the Gemara didn't see a way out with Rebbe. Either the 7th and 7th, he didn't. The 7th, if he sees on the 7th day, if he sees if he comes tumah again on the 7th day, so surely it's the same tumah because he didn't start the new count, and also it's not roy for a korban on the 8th day. So surely it is going to be a new korban for each tumah because it's already a new count, and also it's roy for a korban. But the Gemara said so the Gemara that's stuck can't be according to Rebbe. The Gemara suggesting if it's the eve of the 8th, so then it's good because it is called royal korban, even though it's technically not. But royal
korban for the first group,
for the first tumah,
It has to be during the day.
It has to be during the day, but
But
that's a
it's
technicality.
the beginning of the 8th day.
Right, and it's called a technicality they can't bring at night. That
Uh-huh.
the terminology is going to be is called Laila Mechusas Man. That's going to be the terminology. Is Laila called that it didn't yet reach the time? I mean, really, it is the 8th day is really the day, but technicality Hilchos Kabbalah. It's not in Hilchos Nazir or Hilchos Tumas Meis. It's a din. It's a din in Hilchos Kabbalah. You can't bring a korban at night. There's no korbanos at night. So the Gemara is going to get into this point if the night is called that it's roy for a korban or not. The Gemara is thinking that the night is called roy. If it would be, if the Gemara is trying to say that we would say that at night, how does this cheshbon go? Maybe I got it mixed up a little bit. Maybe I said something wrong. But the Gemara thinks first, Laila Mechusas Man. That means that it's not roy for korban, but it is roy for the count. That's what the Gemara thought. The Gemara thought I got something in between. It's roy for the count because it's the 8th day, but it's not roy for a korban. Right, the korban can't bring. So why doesn't it say that? Why didn't Rav Chisda say Pshat even according to Rebbe? Why did the Gemara start? Rav Chisda, why was pushed him to say that goes according to Rebbe Yehuda that there's a case where he said even according to Rebbe, the case was that he became tummy in the night of the 8th, the eve of the 8th, the Rebbe, and according to Rebbe also. Since he doesn't say that, this is the Gemara's part of the question. Since he didn't say this Pshat, that goes according to Rebbe, he must hold that night is not considered Mechusas Man, that even though technically, I said the wrong thing, I was saying the whole time technically, the first Gemara thought that it's not time for the korban yet. So it's not time for the korban, but the count does start. So that's why there would be a nice shot that he only brings one korban. But the Gemara is saying, since he doesn't say this shot, it must be because he holds that night is only a technicality that you can't bring the korban. And it's called that it's roy for korban also. So the 8th day, it's roy for a korban, and the 8th night, it's called roy for the korban, even though technically it's not. And the count started. So that would be the pshat that is telling you a chiddush that is only considered one count. It's only one korban for both tumas. I'm not sure if I said it right. It's not what I said, but go ahead.
You just did the whole thing about before the middle.
No, I tried to do everything already. How did I do? All this is Rav Chisda, right? Rav Chisda. All this was Rav Chisda.
I'm sorry, you did everything until Lema
Kasabar. Laila Mechusas Man. This was all the Gemara's question. Lav Mechusas Man means
it's the night of the 8th.
Yeah,
and it's not missing time.
Right, not missing time to bring the korban. Means is it called that he's roy to bring the korban?
But he can't bring it right now.
Technically, he can't bring it. There's a question, the technicality that they can't bring it. Do you say that it's called Mechusas Man or not? The 7th thing is called Mechusas Man. You can't bring the korban yet. You're not in the realm of the korban. You're not in the time zone.
The 8th day is when you bring it, so it's not Mechusas Man because it is the 8th.
Right. So let's say
can't bring it yet.
The 8th day in the morning is only called not Mechusas Man. Today is supposed to bring it. Then the eve of the 8th, that's the question. Do you say that you can't bring it yet because korbanos you can't bring at night, so it's still called the time of the korban didn't arrive yet? Or do you say that you really the time of the korban did arrive? It's a technicality. In Hilchos Korban, it's not allowed to bring a korban. But really, as far as the person, did it come the 8th day? They might, as far as they, the 8th day came.
That's love.
That's called love Mechusas Man. You don't consider it. It's called the 8th day. The 8th day has arrived. The 8th day has arrived. So the Gemara is saying the fact that he didn't say that it could go according to Rebbe also must be because he holds that night is not considered missing the time. The time has arrived already. And if the time arrived and also you counting, so then you do bring a separate korban for the tumah that happens on the 8th day. Is that what you hold? Rav Chisda, the fact that you said that only goes according to Rebbe Yehuda and you couldn't find the pshat that it goes according to Rebbe in the case where he saw the eve of the 8th, it must be because he holds. So if he would have become tummy at night, we would tell him that you do have to bring another korban for the next tumah because it's already the 8th day, and also you're counting also. So the new count starts. So Abad is going to answer under Barava, no, it doesn't prove anything. The Gemara is going to answer that you're talking about the korban. There's the korban Mechusas Man, not the eve of the 8th. Is that called that the time of the korban has arrived yet? But you're taking for granted that the time of the counting of his Nazirus, the new count, you're saying that it's not dependent on the time of the korban. The korban, we're going to say that it's already the 8th day, and the Nazirus doesn't start until the morning. I mean, that's what the Gemara is going to say. You made a mistake. You've been calculating the whole time that the new count doesn't start till the 8th day. The Nazirus count doesn't start until the 8th day in the morning. And you're just cheshboning the korban. Is the korban called that he came to the time of the 8th night, the eve of the 8th, is that called that he's right to bring a korban or not? Then we're saying, no, it's Tali Havaha. They're interdependent on each other. If you say that the night is considered that the time of the korban did not yet arrive, so then Amos Machzila korban Letzafra. When is he yes right for a korban? Only in the morning. So you should know that the Nazirus also doesn't start until the morning. Nazirus Nami Lochai La'at Safra. The morning, the morning, the night, the Nazirus also doesn't count until the morning. So again, it's going to be considered the same time. Everything's a one korban because the same we understand on the seventh day. The seventh day, there's no korban, it didn't start a new count. So you said for sure it's only one korban for both tumas. So the eve of the eighth, if you hold that it's not considered, if you hold that, how did it go? If you hold that it's Mechusas man, that the time of the eighth, the eve of the eighth is not yet arrived the time of the korban, it didn't arrived the time of counting the new count either. So it's like the seventh day. And if you're going to say on the other side, if you say that the night, we look at it in technicality, and therefore the night of the eve of the eighth is considered that it's already royal korban, it's also the count of the Nazirus also starts in the night, and therefore then it'd be considered like the same as the eighth day. Just to sum it up, the Gemara said before we started today, so we had the seventh day and the eighth day. According to Rebbe, the seventh day surely considered if you became tummy again on the seventh day, for sure it's considered part of the tumah of the old tumah because he doesn't start the new count yet, and also he's not going to bring the korban yet. So for sure it's considered the same tumah, and he doesn't bring a separate korban for that tumah. On the eighth day, for sure he does bring another korban because it's already the time for the korban, and also the new count starts. The Gemara tried to find a way out that the eve of the night of the eighth will be on one hand, we'll say that the korban did not start, it's not roy for it's Mechusas man, that it didn't start the day for the korban yet, but the count of the Nazirus did start. So that was the Gemara's
that the day started.
What?
That it's the eighth day in terms of the korban.
It was the Mechusas man. The Gemara taught on the kasha the Mechusas man. It's not. It didn't arrive yet, and only in the morning it arrives, but in the night it didn't arrive yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what the Gemara thought.
Yeah.
But as far as the korban, we'll say that as far as the count of the Nazir, it did arrive. The Gemara thought that we'll make a case. We'll find the case according to Rebbe also that there's on one hand yes, on one hand not. That the Nazirus, the new count starts on that day. On the eve of the eighth, we already start the new count of the Nazirus, but the korban is not yet the time of the korban. And the Gemara says it's not a raya because you could say that both things are interdependent. If it's not called that the korban time started yet, the Nazirus time also doesn't start yet. It doesn't start the new count for Nazirus till the eighth day in the morning. So the Gemara says that this was not a right. That question over there increases if Laila is called Mechusas man or not. There's no right to that, and we could continue.
If somebody says I'm going to be a Nazir on the 14th.
On the 14th, meaning
the 14th of the month.
Okay.
So that means starting in the day, or is this at night?
Maybe it has to do maybe
Yeah,
that no. This is because it's tummy. This is because he was tummy. We're talking about a case which a person is tummy. I don't know the answer to your question, but this case is talking about that he was tummy and he can't start his new Nazirus till he's out of the tumah. We're talking about the seventh day or the eighth day.
So
the Gemara is saying, how about that the eighth night, the eve of the night? That the Gemara says is dependent.
Can't start it.
When does it click in? When does it come that is the started in the first day?
You would think that it would start right after Ma'ariv.
That's his Nazirus. If in such a case, Moshe is saying in your case, when a person says I'm accepting to become a Nazir from the 14th of the month, so it means from the beginning of the night.
I think.
Okay, but then the Gemara is saying that as far as that he's tummy and therefore he can't start until the eighth day. So what does eighth day mean?
Because there's korban and other things.
And so here the Gemara says that the starting of the count will be if you hold because it's man, the be that. It's then also going to be not going to count. It's not the korban, the counting also until that time. So where are we now? Gufa. So this Gufa, everyone gets excited about this Gufa. This word Gufa. Usually Gufa means that we said something before and we're going to go back to it again. And here, whatever's going to say now, we didn't have it before. It wasn't mentioned before. The Gemara is just analyzing the idea that we said, but not that it was said before. What it's going to say now, the next couple lines, it doesn't say. Some of it gets a ton of Rabbanan in order to answer the kasha. The Bach makes ton of Rabbanan because all the Rishonim say we never had such a Gufa. Some say that the Lashon of Nazir is unique, like Nedorim and Nazir. Some say that it's different than the whole Shas. And some say change the gears to ton of Rabbanan.
Ton of Rabbanan, I see, yeah.
So this we said that if he became Tummy on the seventh day, so it's considered the same tumah, and he doesn't bring a separate korban for each one. If he became tummy on the eighth day, so then he does bring another. Nitma b'shvi, b'chazav nitma b'shvi. All these, I think I was right what I said on Friday, that chazav nitma means that could happen again and again. It doesn't mean he became tummy two times on the same day. It means that it could happen again and again. He became tummy, and then he's waiting to get Torah, that he got sprinkled the third and the seventh day. He became tummy again on the seventh day. He started sprinkling again. He came tummy. That means many times, but it didn't have to say so many times. It could say even one time, it'd be the same question. And any maybe other korban echad. Then he's considered one big tumah, and he doesn't bring a korban for each tumah. He brings one korban to get out of all that tumah. If nitma b'shmini, because of nitma b'shmini, if it happens again and again on the eighth day, or even one time on the eighth day, so then maybe korban echad echad, and then he does have to bring a korban tumah for each one. Each one is considered a separate tumah. He brings a korban for each one. Maschel lemonu miyad divrei Rebbe. So there's the Ger Sabayah says divrei Rabbi Elazar, and that makes a big problem in the Rishonim if it's Rabbi Elazar. So the Gra makes it easy; it takes out the word Elazar and divrei Rebbe. So it makes it, the other complications. Well, though it does come with the Gra, it makes it simpler. So we had this. This was Rebbe. Rebbe's the one who said that you count the new count starts on the eighth day. We had the pasuk on the pasuk. We saw the pasuk last time. The simple reading of the pasuk says that when he becomes tamei, he takes the whole process of becoming Torah, the third and the seventh. He does the glachas on the seventh, brings the korban on the eighth, and starts counting. And that's what Rebbe learns. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said that he counts from the seventh day. From the yesterday, he already starts counting the first day. Here it says that he starts counting on the eighth day. He brings another korban on the eighth. He brings the korban on the eighth. That's the halach of the korban on the eighth, and he starts counting from then. Till now,
This is all still one was Naziris.
this was one Naziris. He became tamei. A regular, in the Torah case, not the Mishnah's case where he made it in the basic Torah. It's a regular case.
A regular case.
He was
it
Torah.
became
He
Tamei,
became tamei.
and then he starts recounting.
Right.
He's saying immediately on the eighth day.
So what does mean he counts? That he has to get out of his tumah. So he sprinkles on the third and seventh day, does the glachas on the seventh day, like it says in the pasuk, and then he brings a korban on the eighth day and starts counting. So the whole issue we had so far is if he starts counting from the seventh day or the eighth day. But now the Bryce is going to bring other opinions also. Korban echad ala kol ad sheyavi chataso. That it's not only if he came into the eighth day. So far we spoke about if the one korban is going to be if he became tummy again on the seventh day, then it's one korban. If he became tummy on the eighth day, then it's two korbanos because it's already the eighth day and it's right to being a korban. Now comes a new opinion. No, it's not only it's a day that's right to be the korban, it has to be he actually brought the korban. He actually brought the korban. If he became tummy before he brought the korban, then it's still considered the same tumah. It's only if he actually brought the korban, then he got out of that first tumah, and then if he became tummy, then it means another korban. But if he became tummy before he brought the korban, even though it's the eighth day, but he didn't bring the korban yet, so he still is considered the same tumah. He brings one korban for both of those tumas.
Even though he's hired multiple korbanos.
Even though,
He's hired multiple.
no, that's the question. That's what we're talking about. Is he chayav b'nei korbanos or not? That's what we're talking about.
No. When does he start his new count? When he brings one korban from the multiple korbanos or not?
He's saying that there's only one korban. Here it says there's only one korban. He doesn't bring multiple korbanos. He only brings one korban for all the times that he was tummy, and then he's going to do the eighth day.
So
Now, in the korbanos, there's a chatas and a ola and a asham. There are three korbanos. There are three korbanos that he's supposed to bring when he does it. He gets out of his tumah on the seventh day. On the eighth day, he brings three korbanos: a chatas, a ola, and a asham. Here it says chatas, that everything's dependent on the chatas. If he became tummy before he brought the chatas, then it's one korban.
Those are multiple korbanos.
Multiple korbanos because of the one set, not because many tumas, because one tumah. Okay. So there are many korbanos that he's supposed to bring. He's supposed to bring a chatas, a
you
ola,
read
and
it
a
to
asham.
Chatassim.
Yes, right here.
He brings one korban for being tamei.
He bring no.
It
The
says,
korbanos, the korbanos that a person is supposed to bring is three korbanos.
korban echad al
There's many times that this person became tummy a few times. The
Yeah.
question is if he's going to bring one for one set of korbanos. There's a set of korbanos, three korbanos he's supposed to bring. Another tummy brings a chatas, a ola, and a asham.
Mhm.
All animals. All animals? No. The chatas and ola is birds, and the asham is an animal. That's the halachas of another tummy.
Uh-huh.
So till now we said that if the eighth day, if he became tummy on the eighth day, then he's gonna bring a separate set of korbanos for each tumah. Each tumah obligates him to bring another set of korbanos. That's what he said till now. We didn't talk about if he actually bought the korban or not.
Uh-huh.
If it came to 8 days, so it's right to bring the korban, so then that first tumah is over, and now another tumah, and now he's going to be after bring a korban for both of them. When he finally gets out of it, he's going to have to bring a korban for that and a korban for that, set of korbanos. But now there's another sheet that we didn't have yet, that it doesn't depend only coming into the 8th day, it depends if he actually bought the korban chatas. It doesn't say if he bought all the korbanos. If he bought the korban chatas. If he bought the korban chatas, and then he became tamei, it has to bring another set of korbanos for the second one. he has to also bring for the first one. But once you bring the chatos, then he considers that he finished, and he has to bring the other kabbanas. Maybe chatos of a nitma, maybe chatos of a nitma, maybe korban kolecha v'yachad. If he didn't come tummy till after he brought the korban, so then he brings a korban for each one. But if he brought the korban before he brought the korban chatos, it's still considered the same one, the same tuma, only one korban for all. Even though he didn't yet bring the asham, which is also one of the korbanos he's supposed to bring. The fact that he brought the chatas, that's the koveh. The koveh is the korban chatas. If he came tummy before the chatas, it's considered the same tuma. If he became tummy after he brought the korban chatas, then it's considered a new tuma. Even though he didn't bring the asham, that's not the koveh. The koveh is the korban chatas.
It comes before the Asham?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. I have written down like Gemara. I think so. Rabbi Shmuel ben Osha, yes, for sure. Rabbi Yishmael ben Osha Yochanan brought Omer, Kishem Shechatasu Mikavto, Kaina Shamo Makvo. He argues it's the asham. The asham also. It's not enough to brought the chatas. If he became tamei before he brought the asham, the chatas and the asham, so then it's still considered the old tama. If he became tamei after he brought the chatas and the asham, then it's a new tama. So that's a machlokes. We have a lot of opinions already. One opinion was once it got into the 8th day. The other one is once it only after he brought the korban chatas. The other one is chatas and the asham. That's the end of the brisa, it seems. Now the Gemara is analyzing it. Bishlam of the Rebbe. Take out the Eliezer again. The Gemara takes it out. Bishlam of the Rebbe. Omakra, Vikidash Shosho Bayomahu, Afapishla, Heavy Kabanosa. Rebbe is the one who says it doesn't depend on the Kabbalah, it depends on the 8th day. And he dashed in the top of the page, used the word Ahu. That the extra word is Ahu is to tell you that even if he didn't mean the Kabbalah, he just came into the day that's Roy for Kabbalah, that makes it that it's a new Tumah, and he brings a korban for each one. And doesn't make a difference if you bought the kabbanas or not. But Rabbanan, what are you going to do with the word ahu? The answer is afapish lohevi ashamo. That's this first sheet over here that said that everything's totally in the chatas. Who is that chachamim? The Rabbanan is the chachamim. They say that it's not enough that he just came into the 8th day. He has to have bought the chatas. But they also need a pasuk to say even though he didn't bring the asham, because that's what they hold, that it's everything's totally in the chatas. But El Rabbi Shmuel that says that it has to be in the chatas and the asham. So he doesn't consider it's not considered a new tumah unless it came the 8th day and he brought the chatas and the asham. So what is the who coming to teach you? Ella Rabbi Shmuel Ahu Lamali Amalacha. The answer is Ahu Afapisha Levi Alosa. There are 3 kabbanas. There's a chatas, a ola, and a asham. So here they also everybody agrees that even though he didn't bring the ola, he still is considered a new tumah. And that's why they say you need a pasuk. Rabbanan, the other shikkas before that say you don't need a pasuk for that. How come they don't need a pasuk to say the ola? Ola laboy miyuta. You don't need a pasuk for that. Doran ba'almahu. The carbon ola is just a regular present. It's not considered part. In general, you see that ola is not used for kapara. Sometimes the Gemara says that it's for kapara and hero, but mitzvah saseh. But it's really they say that I think they say over there that really the tshuva is mechaper. And after the person does tshuva, so he brings a present. Brings a present. The word doron is a present. And nowadays also, I think they use the word doron as a present.
Yeah,
So-
in English?
Oh no,
No,
no.
like
In
a Hebrew
Hebrew,
name, guys are doing
a doron. It means a present.
Doron is a.
Doron is a present. Yeah.
It's a,
Yeah, so it's a
It's a
present.
present.
it's like a
Matana.
goodwill offering.
A doron drosha. Doron drosha. They give to the bar mitzvah. A doron drosha. It says on the thing, like it's for saying the drosha. He gets a present. A drosha present. The doron means a present. So they hold that you don't need a pasuk because it's not part of the Torah process. It's the right thing to bring all of the Torah says, but not that it's part of the process. So sure, it's not, you don't. Everybody agrees that it's not ma'akev means as far as is it considered 1 tumah or 2 tumas. If you didn't bring the older, that's not said he didn't bring the karbonos yet. But you need a pasuk for it or not. That was the machlokes. Excuse me. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro.
Amen.
Thank you. My Tamai Rabbanan. So the Rabbanan are the ones who say, which one about that? They say that the Chatas. What do they say? They say the Asham also. Who's the first one? Rebbe said everything depends on the 8th day. And then the Chachamim said you also have to be in the Chatas. And Rabbi Shmuel ben Osha said you also have to be in the Asham. That was the 3 shittas in this brisa.
So Rabban hold that Afa Pishalai Hevi Ashama.
Right. But the Chatas, yeah, the Asham not. So the Tanya. Vehizil Hashem Shemein Israel. Vehi Keves mentioned Asol Hashem. I think there's a very interesting thing in the pasuk. If I can get the pasuk on for a minute, let's try to do that together. I see you, Ron Nissen. I didn't see you till now.
Yeah,
I
it
see.
took me a while to update from my computer, so I came a little late.
What is that?
Update.
Took me a while to update my computer, so I came late.
Okay, where am I holding over here? I'm trying to, is this on the Zoom? Do you see this? You see the screen here? Not yet? Something's wrong, still not showing. Try again. Trying to get first of all, only two of them over here. Get rid of one of them. Okay. Okay. I just want to show something interesting in the pasuk. Why is it not going? Kasha. Okay. So what are we looking for? We're looking for the pasuk in Parshas Naso. What is that? Yeah, I think it's a fascinating idea that we're going to see now. Yeah, this is Parshas Naso where it talks about Karban, about the Nazir. So it says, if he became Tamei, pasuk test. So his hair became Tamei. It means that the Moshe's robe became Tamei. So he has to cut off his hair on the seventh day. So he goes, what does it mean, third and seventh day? There's the Paraduma, Mechatas. Then he cuts his hair on the seventh day. At the eighth day, he brings Shtei Tovim and Shnei B'nei Yonah, one for a Chatas, one for an Ola. And then pasuk 12 says, and he brings a Asham. That's very, very mysterious.
Also like to separate.
Right, that he's right. Separates to Hashem the days of his Nazirus, which whatever that means, we'll may see in the Gemara maybe now. And he brings the keves for Hashem. Very, very mysterious. The pasuk talks about the korbanos, and it makes a big separation in between. It says on the seventh day he does the haircut, and the seventh day he brings, on the eighth day he brings the chatas and the ola, which is two birds. And then it should have said also bring the Hashem. It doesn't say that. After it says Vasa coin, one chatas and one ola, it says he gets a kapara for the fact that he became tamei, and he starts counting. He sanctifies his head, means he starts counting again. Vizal Hashem Shemein Israel. I'm not sure what that means. That he's starting a new count. It sounds like he's starting a new count. And then it says bring the Hashem. It goes all together. The chatas, the ola, and the Hashem. Why does it separate the Hashem? When I learned the Chumash a couple of days ago to prepare for Maseches Nazir, so I didn't understand like what. Why does it separate the two? So Agmar is talking about that. Why does it separate the pasuk of the Hashem and it starts talking about counting the new count before it got to the Hashem? So that's the Gemara now. Back to the Gemara. The Tanya, Vizal Hashem Shemein Israel, baby Kevis Ben Shnasol Hashem, Matam Lomar. Why does it have to say? Why does it have to say what? This extra pasuk, Vizal Hashem Shemein Israel. The feature
My time of the Rabbana.
that they say that the Hashem. What do they say? The Hashem is not
Even
mounted.
though he didn't bring the Hashem.
He brought the Chatas. It's considered a new Tumah, even though he didn't bring the Hashem. How do they see that? The Fishem was seen and every Hashem is always essential. If you don't bring it, so it's holding back whatever you didn't do. Hashem Nazir, Hashem Mitzvah, Hashem Tolu, Hashem whatever. You might think that that's this Nazir, Hashem Nazir, that he became Tumah. You might think that holds him back as far as the Tumah here, that it's still considered that the same Tumah. He didn't get out of the Tumah until he brings the Korban Hashem, top of the page. Tamud Lomar, Vizir, Vihizir, and then Vehevi. That means that he starts counting the new days, even though he didn't bring the Hashem. Even though he didn't bring the Korban Hashem, still he starts the new count. So it's a chiddush, but it says it's addressing the nuance in the pasuk that it makes a big split between the Chatas Ola and the Hashem. That he starts counting the new count even if he didn't bring the Hashem. Rabbi Shmuel ben Yochanan ben Yochanan Omer.
So since that oil is just a diamond, so all he has to bring is Chatas.
Yeah, he surely has to be the Hashem also, but you want to know when is it considered a new Tumah, when is it considered the old Tumah? When did he get out of the old Tumah? So he says that after the Chatas, and even if he didn't bring the Hashem, it's still considered that he's out of that Tumah, and a new Tumah has happened now, and he has to bring a korban for each one separately.
But he has is mashma that he has to make a. Does he have to make a hafrasha even though he doesn't bring it? I mean, because Tamid Lama behizir, behavi, hizir behavi, afakum behavi, hizir.
That means that he starts the new count even though he didn't bring the Hashem.
But then no, does he have? So does he? Is it totally on hazar hafrasha?
It doesn't say the word hafrasha. Hizir means that he should count his new count. He starts becoming a Nazir again. And then maybe means that he brings the Hashem. If he starts counting the new count, even though he didn't bring the Hashem. Maybe I'm not understanding something, but so far the words I think can go smoothly. Second line, he says differently. He says that Hashem is ma'akev. How does he get a word of psukim?
Yeah.
He says the opposite. Emasai Hizir Bisman Shehevi. So it doesn't answer the question I was asking. How come the pasuk interrupts in between? But he says he doesn't see in the pasuk that it means that he counts before he brought the korban. Only if he brought the korban. I don't see in the words. I don't see how he's trying to use the words exact opposite. The first one says, "V'hizir," even though he didn't heavy. Hizir goes, he starts counting the new count, even though he didn't bring the korban. And he says, "No, Emasai Hizir Bisman Shehevi," that he only can start counting the new count if he brought the korban. Period. So we have a new shittas about when is it considered one tumah or two tumas? The 8th day when he's right for the korban, or maybe he has to be the korban chatas, maybe he even has to be the korban nashim. 4th line. Who's the author of the previous brises of these different shittas for the following brisa? It says,
where did the brisa end? Talmud
yeah,
Lomar at the top of the page.
no, probably at the end of the 3rd line. That's explained.
Bisman Shehevi.
Right. When they only can start counting after you brought the Asham. So the Bryce explained the two shittas. The one who says that the Asham is Ma'akev, the one who said the Asham is non-Ma'akev. Or maybe it ends after the first line, then the Gemara starts answering, what is the Shmuel going to do with it?
Okay.
4th line. Who's the author of the following Bryce? A very interesting case. We learned the Dorim and now we're learning Nazir. So here comes a mix. Isha Shanadr ben Nazir, Vinitma, V'yach Achef Ola Bala. A woman made herself to be a Nazir. A woman could be a Nazira also. She can make herself a Nazir. And the husband could be Mayfair. We talked about why a husband could be Mayfair, because it affects him. Because he doesn't want his wife to shave her head at the end of the Naziras. It's called.
With the date.
What do you mean retroactive? When he hears the day that he hears about it.
Maybe no. If he knew that it was going to be bad for him from the word go, maybe that can take effect even at the beginning of.
That's what we're talking. Yeah, he doesn't just be Mayfair the pact there.
Oh.
If he's Mayfair, he stops. There's no Naziros.
Right, but she became Thomas, so she's chayiv on the mitzvahs of all the mitzvahs.
So that's what the Gemara is going to talk about now. When a husband is Mayfair, we had in the Dorim that those of them goes retroactively. When you do Matan Neder, you go to the road, then it goes retroactively. But Hafara is from now. But here Gemara is going to talk about it as if it's a question, and it's not going to be so simple. We're going to get to the sugi later on. But here it comes in. Here's a case that so Chaim David's ready in the case that she became Tameh. If it would have been a regular Nazirus husband, here's about it. He says, I don't want Mufar. So then it's off. No Nazirus. Here she became Tameh. She made herself a Nazira, and she became Tameh. And then the husband heard about it, and he said, no Nazirus. So how do we look at the Kabbanas that she designated? There should be those Kabbanas. Was she a Nazira that became Tameh? Or now that he's made for it, the whole thing is off retroactively. So here it says an interesting thing, which is these explanations. The Gemara is going to go into it. She separated the karbanos, which is supposed to be a chatas and a ola, 2 birds, and there's also an asham. So it says here that she brings the chatas over. The asham she surely cannot bring. We're going to see. And how about the 2 birds? So it says the chatas yes and the ola no. That's very interesting.
So what is it?
Amar Rav Chisda. So first of all, the Gemara wants to know who
That's
is
the
it?
end of the brisa.
That's under the Bryson. And now the Gemara said, who's the author of this Bryson as far as the issue we had before about what consider that you're finished with the Tumah Karbonis if there's a Chatas and an Ola and an Asham. So what the Gemara wants, I wouldn't have figured it out, but here they say, Amrav Chisda Bishmoli, period. It only says Bishmol. What does that have to do with anything? What does he have Bishmol? Bishmol is the one who said that the Chatas and the Asham, both of them are Ma'akev. What does that have to do with this subject over here? So they explained that there was a machlokis if everyone holds that the Ola is not Ma'akev. Everyone agreed that was not market. But the question was, do you need a pasuk for it? One said you need a pasuk for it. Another one said you don't need a pasuk, it's just a present. So the Gemara understands that if it's just a present, then there's no reason that this woman should bring it. This woman who her Nazirus got canceled, so there's no reason why she should bring the Ola if it's not part of her Nazirus Kavanah. We'll see in a second. The Gemara is not yet, didn't finish explaining what is happening over here, why she should bring the Chatas, not the Ola. We didn't get it yet. But according to what the Gemara is going to say, it only makes sense that she brings brings the chatas and not the ola, according if it's part of the nazirus. And since the nazirus went off, she doesn't bring the ola. But if the ola was just a doron, there's no reason why she shouldn't have brought it. She designated the carbon to bring an ola. So let's look just like at the ola.
At the beginning, she doesn't.
Now when she was Tameh, she was a nazira. As far as she was concerned, she was a nazira. She didn't tell her husband. She came to the
So
secret.
she designated these 2 birds.
She put the Adas and Ola, and then she became Tameh. And the husband hears about it, then he says there's nothing doing, no Nazira. but she still should bring the chata sa'op, and she does not bring the ola sa'op. And the Gemara's cheshbon is that if the ola sa'op is part of the Nazirus korbanos, it's not just look, you don't look at it just like a present she's bringing to Hashem.
Yeah,
So then the fact that the Nazirus goes off is the reason why she should not bring the ola sa'op. But if it's not, it's like disconnected. It's nothing to do with the Nazirus really. It's a present that a Nazir Tameh, they do the Tara process. They bring a Chatas and a Asham. They bring a Ola also as a present to Hashem. But it's not inherently part of the Nazirus Kabbanis. So
that
now,
has nothing to do with the Nazir.
even if the Nazirus went off, there's no reason why she shouldn't bring the Ola. So we're supposed to understand all that.
What's the nature of another one? I'm always trying.
What's
to
the question?
understand. Yes, what is it? Is it a gift? Is it a?
So 2 minutes before he came, that was the Gemara. The Gemara said one man the Yomar that says it's called a gift. And the Ola is always called a gift, and it's not mechaper. It doesn't have any. You do find out a place where it is mechaper, but the way that it's mechaper is that you're bringing a present. You're bringing a present to Hashem. It's not like the other ones that's called a chatas, a sin offering, and asham as a guilt offering. This is it's not a kapara. It's like after if someone did something wrong, even though they apologize and everything, and then the next day you get a present in the mail. You get a bouquet of flowers. You're already made up. You already said it's fine. And still you get a bouquet of flowers. Why? Because after I want to bring you a present. So that's the way you look at a korban ola. It's not the korban chatas is the guilt offering, that's the sin offering. And the ola, even when you bring an ola, in this case, someone did something wrong, it's not the pshat that is atoning, but it's a present after atonement. So the Gemara says, according to that, there's no if you just look at it as a present, then there's no reason that even if the Nazirus went off, there's no reason why she shouldn't bring the ola. You designated a ola to bring, so bring the ola. But if you hold that as part of the Nazirus contract kind of thing, so then, if the Nazirus goes off, we would not
Need to bring an oath.
need to bring in.
We're not bringing-
And what the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel. Who's Rabbi Shmuel? Rabbi Shmuel is the one who says that the Asham, not there yet, that the Asham is Ma'akev, and the pasuk he has to use in order to say that the Ola you don't bring. He doesn't look at it as a Doron. He looks at it like part of the package, and therefore it makes sense that she shouldn't anyway be as a Ola. So that's what the Gemara said. Who's the author of this verse that says that this woman that got her Nazirus Mufar, the husband canceled it, that he does not bring the Ola soap? That's only Rabbi Shmuel, because according to Rabbanan that say that it's a Doron, there's no reason why she shouldn't bring the Ola soap. End of that Gemara. Now the Gemara touches on what Chaim David.
Didn't we say this sheet from Rabbi Shmuel is that the Asham is Ma'akev?
Yes, and then the Gemara has to kasha on him. What do you do with the pasuk Hahu? What do you need it for? Everything's Ma'akev. What do you need the pasuk for? The Gemara said that the Ola is not Ma'akev. The Chatas Ola is, the Asham is not. The Chatas Asham is, the Ola is not. And the Gemara said, what does his components hold? You don't need a pasuk. Of course, the Ola is not Ma'akev. It's only a present. But Rabbi Shmuel doesn't know that it's a present. He holds that it's part of the Karbonos. He needs a pasuk to say that this Ola is not Ma'akev. If he holds the Ola is not Ma'akev, it means it's part of the Nazirus. Over here, with the Nazirus went off, that's why she doesn't have to bring the Ola soul. Now the Gemara goes into Chaim David's point. What's happening is that when the husband is made for the Nazirus, does it go out retroactively? Or does it go mikana lava? So it doesn't make sense. Here the Gemara says she brings the chatas off, she doesn't bring the ola soul. What's this? What's half a job? What is it? My kasava, ikasava bal me akar. If a husband, when he's made fair, he uproots it from its root. He uproots it retroactively. So then there's no nazir. So all things off. Chatas off namilo lice. Don't bring any kabbanas. Ikasava bal make this guys. If the husband cuts it off from now on, that whatever you did till now you did, but now it's cut off from the future. But only mikana lava. So then Ola Sof Nami Lysa. So she was a Nazir and she became Tameh. She's high all the Kabbanas. So why should she not bring the Ola? What kind of brisa that it says the Chata she does bring the Ola, she doesn't bring? What's this? So this we didn't have in the Dar. We had that husband's afara goes Mikana Labah. It doesn't go retroactively, but this brisa holds that the husband's afara takes it off retroactively. So the question was, if it goes retroactively, so there's no Nazir. So why bring the Chata Sa'u for? Rabbi Shmuel, which had for many times already, this that a Nazir is considered sinful. Why did you abstain? Don't abstain. We had this guy in the dorm already. Here we had a Nazir again. The Tanya Rabbi Omer, Ma Tamaloma B'Chiper Olov Me'Ashchat Alana. If a Shakam says that he should get an atonement, the Pasuk Pshat is talking about when he became Tameh. The Pasuk Pshat is simple, that a person who Nazir became Tameh, so he has to get atoned for the Tumah that he became Tameh. He's middle of the Nazirus. But the more is actually even by a Nazir Tohor, which the Gemara will talk about soon. What sin did a Nazir do? A Nazir is a holy man. He's becoming a Nazir. What did he? The Chata said, what did he do wrong? He abstained from wine. Hashem gave you wine. Why abstaining from wine? The Kavachomer, this goes at a side point. A person just abstains from wine is considered a sinner. Hashem served you wine. Why are you not taking it? So if somebody's going to abstain from other things, like it makes a fast day, so then surely it's considered a sin. So what does the Gemara want to say with this? It's true that the Nazirus is off. The Nazirus is off. It's very fascinating story. The Gemara is saying the Nazirus is off. The husband, we canceled it retroactively. There's no Nazirus. But she did wrong in accepting the Nazirus. Even though the Maisa said retroactively it's off, but she did wrong. So she should bring a problem with Chatas. She should bring the Chatas. Even though the Nazirus is off, but she should bring the Chatas because she did wrong for accepting upon herself the Nazirus.
It could be she was zero for a few weeks until he canceled it. So that
Even
whole
though-
time, she was, the whole time.
Even though now the Maisa is canceled and the Maisa she stopped didn't drink wine, but the Maisa she didn't drink wine. The whole thing was an abstinence, which wasn't good. It's not good to abstain. So that kind of korban chatas she should bring even after retroactively it's nothing. She never was really in a zero, but the Maisa she abstained. So she should bring a chatas for abstaining from Hashem's wine that Hashem gave her wine.
Even though he nullified it.
Right. Just at one point has to be explained in the whole Gemara. How do you bring these korbanos if it's retroactively off? How can you bring a ola? How can you bring a chatas? How do you do it? No korbanos. The chulin bazar. So the answer to that is ola. There's no problem. You can bring an ola as in a dava. You could make an ola to be. I want to bring an ola even if it's not mechuyev to. A chatas is a problem, but a chatas ha'of is not a problem because a chatas ha'of ha'bal suffix. That there's no hakrav, you don't put it on the mizbeach. All you do by chatas ha'of, you just put the blood on the mizbeach, and then the rest of it the kohen meat. So there's no hakrava. There's no so of an animal, you're not allowed to bring chatas animal ala suffix because it's chulin bazora. But oaf, in the mizbeach ela dama, only the blood goes on the mizbeach, so you're allowed to bring a chatas off ala suffix.
I mean, there's no interest.
There's no putting it on the mizbeach. You're not being marked of anything. If it be chulin, you can't be marked of chulin on the azor. But there's no problem to put the blood. You put blood of the chulin on the azor. You didn't do any avera. So that's why you let it be chatas off, even if not mechuyev.
But according to Rabbi Shmuel, Miyakir Akar,
You were saying that there's really no.
there's no zero.
There's but
It's not a no, what I was saying, it's not a suffix.
it's not a suffix, but there's no problem. This idea, the rayon, that she was abstaining, and we tell her bring the chatas off, even though it's not a real chatas off.
It's not a suffix.
It's not a suffix. Not a real. Yeah,
It's
it's not really
from
chatas off.
abstaining.
Right, but it's not a real chatas off because the Ma'aser husband canceled it retroactively, so there's no naziros at all. But if you could bring the chatas, so bring it, even though you're not really, it's not really korban chatas. I'd imagine when the kohanim are going to eat chatas off, they're not going to say, they're not allowed to eat it because it's malika. They're not allowed to eat it either. Chatas off habala suffix, you just do malika. You put the blood on the mizbech, then you wait until you put it into the lul over there until it becomes possible. You don't need it either. Okay, the one wants that she should bring a chatas just for the abstinence that she did, even though it's not a real chatas off.
It's
But
not
then-
considered chulin be'asar.
Yeah, then the chatas off is never considered chulin bazar.
But if somebody just abstained, in other words,
Yes.
had nothing to do with a nazir, said,
Right.
I don't want to drink. I want to drink wine, but I'm not going to.
So
I mean, did she have to want to drink the wine and she didn't?
she wanted to abstain. Abstaining is not a good thing. That's what the Gemara is saying. That abstinence is not a good thing.
So
So
then
the-
why does anybody that
Yes,
wants
that's
to
the whole
abstain, even if
question.
they're
Why
not
does
in a-
anybody-
Right, not a
why
good
did they
thing.
bring it
That's
back?
what it's saying. Allah has come over
The Rebbe
So we're not
said
gonna.
Thursday was the other way around. He said, no, it's good thing, it's good to be a Nazir. There are all kinds of reasons. They were
Right.
making themselves Nazir.
Right.
If you have, if your child is born, I'll be a
Yeah. All
Yours-
kinds of reasons, right. So this is
Throwing
what
the zeros around like,
right. So that's the question. Is
Okay.
it a good thing or not a good thing? And it seems to be a machlokes in the Tanam. The Pesukim are for sure mashma that it's a good thing. The pasuk says, "V'nibu b'nechem u'b'nei-" your children are going to be Nazirim. It talks. The pasuk talks very positively. Kodesh LaHashem, He's holy. So this is an idea that Rabbi Elazar Kappa says, and sometimes the Gemara utilizes it that it's not a good thing. The Mesilas Yesharim talks about precious. Is precious a good thing? Is precious a bad thing? If he's down this Gemara that abstinence is not a good thing. The Mesilas Yesharim goes over there that whatever you need, you're supposed to take. That's the Mesilas Yesharim's rule of the thumb about abstinence. If you need it, you're supposed to take it. You're not supposed to abstain. If you don't need it, then it's good to abstain. I don't know if it answers all the Gemaras, but that's the Gemara ends off that the drasha is very difficult. He made a drasha over here to say that a Nazir is a choten because it says a sin. But the place where it says a sin is talking about a Nazir Tameh. It doesn't talk about a regular Nazir. It talks about a Nazir that became Tameh. The sin is it became Tameh. But a Nazir Tameh Ksiv, but not a Nazir Torah Kamina. You're saying that applies even to a Nazir Torah, and The pasuk is not talking about that. The pasuk is talking about another tummy that he's called the chote. The answer is because Rabbi Elazar Kappa Nazir Tar Nami Choteyu. Rabbi Elazar Kappa says that the Nazir Tar is also a sinner. So why does the pasuk say it only by Nazir Tameh? That he's doing the sin a double sin. So Taisus explains what's a double sin. The answer is because he repeated the sin. What's repeating the sin? So you could say that it means that first thing he abstained, it wasn't a good thing, and second of all, he became tamei, also not a good thing. Taisus puts it all together. That he wasn't careful to become tamei, and he has to abstain more now. He accepted upon himself the zeros for 30 days. Not a good thing. He shouldn't have done it. But now he should at least be careful that he shouldn't have to extend it and do it a double time. So he was not careful about the tumah, not the fact that he became tamei. The fact that he became tamei, now he has to abstain even more. So that's even a bigger sin. But really, Rabbi Elazar Kappa would say that it's a sin even to become a Nazir one time. That's good. So we continue.
So that's how it's applicable to Nazir Torah.
Yeah, the yesod is applies even to a Nazir Torah. Don't become a Nazir in the first place. Don't abstain. If he's careful, if he's not careful and it becomes tamei, then it's even worse. That's why the pasuk expresses it over there that he's a sinner. He's abstaining so long. But sure, he's not the pashut on the pasuk. Pashut is that he did avera, that he wasn't careful to become tamei. Pasuk says he's not allowed to become tamei. It wasn't Amish avera. Pesach Pesach. It happened to him accidentally. It wasn't his fault. But that's considered. He became tamei. That's the problem. But he's darshaning that even a Nazir Torah is also a sin because he's abstaining and Hashem didn't ask for that.
This is one Peter Elazar
Rabbi Elazar Kappa.
How do you translate the position on
Repeated.
He repeated. Okay.
Like Shani.
Yeah.
So the Mishnah, back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that back to the Mishnah. We're rewinding. The Mishnah said that a Nazir made himself a Nazir when he was tamei in the basic forest. Or we said now after basic forest when he's tamei. Like nowadays, a person makes himself a Nazir. Is a tamei shenazar. So it says that.
That's what we said.
So we said maybe only if he's in the basic forest.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. If some that is five markers because don't make yourself a Nazir. You can become a Nazir tamei. That was your part. Yeah. So here it says. Yosef and Nichnas, so we said the pshat already when we learned the Mishnah. We said this already because we couldn't read it otherwise. It says he went out and he came in again, then it counts. If as long as he's tamei, he doesn't start to count. Once he goes out to the basic forest, comes in again, so then it does count. So that didn't make sense. Right away we said that it means that he went out and he waited 7 days and he got shlishi ushvi and he went to the mikvah. It's not just a Yosef and Nichnas. It's like a yotza and he did a lot of things. So that's Mara's kasha. It says that if he went out and came in again. So then it does count in, it does go into the count. Does that make sense? That's because when out of the cemetery, he becomes Naziros. He's not Torah, he's still tamei. He went out of the basic forest. It takes a long time till you get Torah out of 7 days. So it just says he went out. So then it starts to count. Amashmur doesn't mean that. It means he went out, he got the sprinkling of the water on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day went to the mikvah. That's what it means. You have to stick it in. Like Rashi. Rashi stuck it into us right away. To tell us that yes, it doesn't just mean he went out and walked in again. It does sound like that, but it doesn't mean that. It means he went out, then became Torah, and then went in again. Ella, the more has the kasha on that. And then it says he came in again, so then he starts to count. The Mishnah says Yosef and Nichnas, then he starts to count. Ella Nichnas uda olam lo men aminyan lo Nichnas ein lo men aminyan. The Mishnah is very strange.
I'm sorry about the Karbanis. He was Nazir Torah. It was a Nazir tire.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about.
No, it means that's the Mishnah doesn't mean Karbanis. This difference between a Nazir who was Torah and became tamei, or a Nazir that made himself a Nazir tamei. As soon as he started, he was a basic forest. So there the Mishnah says no Karbanis.
There was no chalais until he was Matayr himself.
There's no Karbanis on the tumah that he gets out of.
There's
A person is in the cemetery and he says, I'm hereby a Nazir. And he went out, we tell him, get out. He gets out and he starts the three days, gets sprinkled on the 3rd day, the 7th day. He doesn't bring the korban. There's no korbanos on the 8th
because
day.
he's not a Nazir.
No, now he's going to start.
He's just Matayr from his tomb.
Right. And even
And
though
now the question was on the seventh day,
there was a
it's
chalois. The Mishnah Gemara says it comes out, there was a chalois. It is this chal, and he's malchus if he drinks wine during these times because he's a Nazir. But he doesn't, but he also has to make himself Torah to be a Nazir Torah. But he doesn't bring a korban. Different than the person who was Torah became tamei. This person was tamei from the beginning. He doesn't bring the korban. Right. So the Mishnah says Yatsa b'nichnas. It means Yatsa, and he did the whole story. Yatsa, and he got the Hazah Shlishi Yoshvi, went to the mikvah, and then he went. Then he goes back. Then he's going to be. Then he starts to count. Of course, the Mishnah Gemara says it says if he went back, he went out and back in again. He starts to count. Of course, he starts to count if he didn't go in. That's the point, that he came out, he became Tahor, now he starts to count. If he went in, it's a problem. Now he's gonna be,
Tamid.
now he's coming, now he's gonna lose the count that he did. So the wording of the Mishnah is very hard. It only starts for his count if he goes back into the cemetery. If it doesn't go in, it doesn't count for the count. That doesn't make sense. Of course, it starts to count as soon if he doesn't go in. The my answer is Lomi Voya Kamar. It means that that's not a question. Of course, if he didn't go back in, this count starts. Lomi Voya Yotza. That of course, if he didn't go back in, of course it starts counting. The Chiddush is even if he does go back in, it also counts for the count. What does it mean? It counts for the count. He counts for the count and it loses it. It goes, all of it is going to fall. It's not when once he goes into the cemetery, so then he loses all the count that he did. But it's going to go now into the machlokes of Rebbe Lezer and the Mishnah that only if he has 2 days, or if he only has 1 day, maybe you don't say that it counted at all. That's going to be coming up right away. The Gemara is going to talk about that machlokes. But it means the count starts as soon as he becomes Tor. He goes out of the cemetery, gets sprinkled 3rd and 7th. The Gemara came out before that he's supposed to take a haircut. He does not take a haircut on the 7th day. That's what he came out. He doesn't take a haircut. He doesn't mean the korban, and he starts counting on the new count on the 7th day. So this is not such a
really
thing.
his first count.
This is his first count, right? And reading is very, big chiddush. I read the Mishnah. Yosef and Nichnas. Everything is like Yosef. We're sticking a lot of things over here. So Amalei Rav Khan. Who said this? Shmuel. Shmuel said this whole shot. Amalei Rav Khan Rav Asi L'Rav. My time with Lama Farshas Lam Kalein Milan. Why don't you tell it? Why didn't you tell us this? I mean, Shmuel said it. Rav seems didn't tell it. And the Talmidim of Rav asked him, why didn't you tell us this pshat? Amalahon, I mean the Malod Tzrichi. So I didn't know that you needed it. Like the other Gemara is like that. It says in the side, the other Gemara is similar, that someone says, why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't ask. That's a nice Chaklavataria you find sometimes. That the Talmud, why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't ask. You asked me, I'll tell you. I'm supposed to know what you don't know. So that's what
So
Rav
what does
said.
it mean that if he goes in, he starts counting, he goes in, then he's gonna have to.
If he goes back in, he's ready counting, and he goes back in. Now he's going to start all over
he's gonna
again.
start all over again,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
regular.
Like a regular Nazir that became to what?
That became
Tameh.
Tameh after he
Right,
started.
after he was started counting.
A Nazir B'Tam.
Right. So he made himself a Nazir when he was Tameh, but the Maisi got out of it. And little different halachas how he gets out of it, exactly not the same way as usual. He doesn't do the haircut on the 7th day, and he doesn't mean the korbanos, and he starts counting on the 7th day. And then if he goes back in again, then he's going to be a regular Nazir that became Tameh. But now goes the next sugya. That Machlokas in the Mishnah, if what? That
It meant retroactively that he went back in and whatever had started counting counts.
it
And it's
doesn't.
like he's a Nazir that becomes Tameh.
He was in. He started in his years of Torah. He started at Torah in his years now, right? He went out and he got Torah. He started as Naziris, and now he goes back in again. So he's like a Nazir Torah that went to the cemetery.
Yeah, but the way they say it was Nichnas Ba'olam. It said Nichnas Ba'olam.
Nichnas v'yotza. Nichnas. It doesn't say that. It says Nichnas v'yotza.
But Olin Lo really means that
It started before
whatever he
was
had counted before he went in.
Right,
was-
right. As if to say that
That's our
Yotza
language.
Olenlo. And even though Nichnas,
No, he's Nichnas afterwards. Yotza v'nichnas. What it means, Yotza, he went out, became tired,
and the count started.
and count started, and v'nichnas. Now he has a new.
And
And
after
then he
the
went
word
Nichnas,
Nichnas,
now he
says
lost it.
Olin.
Now he lost it because he became Tommy, so he lost it. So what does the Olenlo mean?
It means when he went in.
So
it
what's
had
over?
already-
So he lost it. He was
Retroactive.
Olenlo, and now it goes off.
Going in. The first was
Meaning
when the 7th day ended.
So that was
Or on the
Olenlo, but
seventh
then
day- on the seventh
Nichnas
day,
now
sorry.
messed it up. Now he's going to fall. Now everything's going to lose everything. He was very nice that he got Torah and he started counting, but now that he goes back to the cemetery, so now everything falls.
But you should know that the Olin Lo means that it's like a regular Nazir. that
It
goes
could
in.
be.
So I don't know
It
what
could
Olin means.
It means it counts for his
Start
count.
counting.
It starts for his
Start his
count.
new count.
The clock starts. The clock starts.
Where's the word?
Olin Lo goes up. to-
Olin Lo. He can't start.
Then there's a machlokas in the Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer and the Rabbanan, about if it was only 1 day. The simple words in the Mishnah would have sounded like that the Yamim Rishonim Yiplu only if it's 2 days. If he counted 2 days and then it became Tameh, so then there's a din of the whole process how to bring you bring a korban when you get out of it. And Rabbi Lezer says only if it's 2 days. If it's only 1 day, then you don't have this halacha that the days fall and he bring the korban. Maybe he even has, maybe he's even allowed to keep that, he keeps one day on pause. He has one day. And now he has to get out of the tumah that became tummy. He has to get out of the tumah. But then you don't say that the days fall. That's what Rabbi said in the Mishnah. Should we go back to the Mishnah, try to find
The
it?
pasuk was Hayom Riyushrenim.
Yiplu. That the pasuk's talking about the pasuk is talking about a regular nazir that became tummy, Pesach Pesach. So he gets tohar, takes a haircut, brings a korban. He starts counting again, and the first days fall down. That's the pasuk of the pasuk.
So he didn't go in right away. According to the Mandamar, says you need Yomim as Lashon Rabbim. So when he became tired, he waited 2 days, right?
Right. Let's find the Mishnah just to find that.
Yupalu here means that it fell down, that you have to start counting. all
Right.
over again.
He loses he loses the
And
first
now
days.
the machlos we
It
had was-
canceled.
It only cancels if it's 2 days.
And that's what Abelazar says, that Olam Aminian will be Korban Toma on the now, if he's going to become tummy now. So now that he became Torah, he went back into the cemetery. So now it counts that he started the Nazirus Tara, and now he's going to bring a Korban to that Tuma. The Korban, and the first Tuma that he made himself when he was in Nazir, he made himself, he was tummy, he made himself a Nazir. He doesn't bring a Korban Tuma on that. That was the Mishnah, that was what we learned, and it may be Korban Tuma.
Yeah.
But now that he went out, became Torah, and went in again, now he is going to bring a Korban Tuma. But Rabbi Elazar says only if it was 2 days. But if it's only 1 day, so then you don't have this halacha. It's not considered that he started it, and you're not going to bring a korban tumah. When you learn the Mishnah, you could get if you could. It's
Doesn't work.
no. I'm telling you, it also just makes it complicated more. It's not. It's something else. But good to leave it over here. So that was the machlokes. And now, if whoever wants to stop, he can stop here. It's a new sugya. Stop here. Okay. So we'll got up to the bottom. We're at the bottom of your test. Where are we up to again?
But the 2 dots, yeah.
By the two
No,
dot-
about 2 dots. Okay, Abelazar.
What,
Okay.
are we behind a half a?
We're half a dot. Almost. We even went.
Within 5 years, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got plenty of time.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Abelazar. Yes, go. Thank you.
Good, baby.
Thank you. Yes, go. Thank you. I've been listening. Thank you.
Shkoyach, thank you very much.
Thank you. The word of Reuben.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
putting it off a day.
Ah, ah.
I